Chapter 4. All right, guys. Nice work with the dignitary today. We're on call for the next few days, so enjoy some time at home with your families. Patrick nodded at Cam and Jared. Or your girlfriends. He pointed to Brendan and Carter. Or your dog. Patrick caught Jesse's eye and smiled. Hey, man, you can't beat the love of a good dog. Jesse knew they were kidding with him. The good-natured ribbing was one thing he loved about being in SWAT. They were so close they were practically like family. Still, he wished he had someone to go home to. Just remember to stay close to your phone in case anything comes up. Jesse nodded and headed for the locker room to change. His stomach was rumbling, and he really wanted a sandwich and a good cup of coffee. So, will you think about giving Brie a chance? Brendan asked as he fell into step beside Jesse. I don't even know how to contact her, Jesse said. I got her number if you're interested. Jesse let out a sigh. Brendan was not going to let this go. Fine, give me her number. Maybe I'll reach out tomorrow. That's all I'm asking. Then if you decide she's not for you, maybe she'll give me a chance. Jesse stopped and looked at his friend. You mean you asked her out and she turned you down? Brendan shrugged, as if this was no big deal. She said she preferred the strong, silent type. So please, give her a chance for me. Jesse chuckled and shook his head. It wasn't like Brendan didn't have a slew of other women lined up. Of course, they probably weren't billionaires like Brie, and Brendan hated it when women turned him down. I'll do my best. Thanks, my man. Brendan slapped his shoulder and hurried toward the parking lot. He probably had a date waiting already. Jesse continued into the locker room, showered and changed, and then headed out to his car. He hoped the Java Hut was still open. They made a mean Americano and usually had a sandwich or two left that he could snag for dinner. He didn't mind cooking, but after a long day like today, he just wanted something easy he could eat while watching TV. What the? He did a double take as he passed the building. There was a line out the door. He had never seen it this busy, and while he didn't really want to stand in line for food, he was curious as to the reason for the lengthy wait. A block over, he found a space and parked the car. He pocketed his keys and tugged on his shirt to make sure it covered his concealed weapon. The last thing he needed was someone spotting his weapon and getting stupid in a crowded place like this. As he joined the back of the line, he tapped the shoulder of the man in front of him. What's the deal with the crowd? I've never seen it this busy. The man's eyebrows arched on his forehead. You mean you didn't hear? Brie Carter is here serving drinks. I'm going to keep this cup forever, or maybe sell it on eBay to the highest bidder. Maybe I'll buy 2 drinks so I can keep one cup and sell the other. The man kept rambling, but Jesse stopped listening. What were the odds that Brie would be working here at his favorite coffee shop the night after he met her? Even more ironic was his promise to Brendan to give her a chance. He wasn't sure he would have called her, but now here she was in front of him. Was this a sign? Sign or not, he wanted to see Brie in this environment. He had a feeling she would be frazzled and way out of her league. His prediction was spot on. As he entered the small room, he could see the frustration on both Brie's face and that of her coworkers. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, but tendrils stuck out at all sides. Sugar or some similar white substance clung to her cheek. No, not like that. You're making an Americano, not a cappuccino. The male employee, Jesse assumed he was the manager, threw up his hands and shook his head. I'll get it, Brie said, blowing a puff of air out of her mouth and sending her bangs ruffling. It's all right. I don't mind an Americano if Brie is making it. The customer whose drink Brie was working on leaned against the counter and flashed a smile at her. Jesse rolled his eyes at the man's obvious flirtation. This was just another reason he didn't usually go for girls like Brie. Though he wanted a woman he was physically attracted to, he didn't necessarily want one that everyone was physically attracted to. It took another 10 minutes, but finally Jesse reached the front of the line. I guess we meet again, he said as Brie turned to him. Well, hey, Jesse. Nice to see you again. What can I get for you? She flashed him a tired smile, but Jesse thought it made her look more relatable. Americano is my drink, and it seems to be one you've perfected, so I guess I'll stick with that. Thank you. Relief was evident in her voice, and he wondered how many drinks she had messed up since she started. While she made the drink, he scanned the glass container for a sandwich, deciding on a BLT which he handed to her when she returned with his drink. I'll take this too. Are you staying to eat? Jesse scanned the room. Though still crowded, the manager had locked the door to new customers, and the men were slowly filing out. Yeah, I could. Why? I'm almost off. I was hoping maybe I could sit with you and relax a little. It's been a long day. I know we don't know each other well, but I don't know anyone else in here, and I'd rather avoid being hit on. Jesse bit his lip to keep his reply to himself. From the way she dressed and approached their table the night before, he had a hard time believing she didn't enjoy being hit on. But he decided to be nice. Sure, I'll just be over there. Join me when you can. A few minutes later, Brie slid into the table across from him and dropped her head onto her hands. Jesse raised an eyebrow and took a sip of his coffee. It wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't as good as normal. Long day? I didn't realize work was so hard, Brie said with a sigh. I mean, I knew work was hard. That's why I avoided it so long. But I didn't know it was this hard. So why did you take the job? You didn't have to, right? Brie dropped her eyes to the tabletop. This is going to sound awful, but my father made me. He said he would take away my money at the end of the month if I didn't get a job by then. A sarcastic reply bubbled in his throat, but she looked so dejected that he swallowed it and tried for something nicer. Okay, but why here? Surely pouring coffee isn't your dream job. Brie's eyes shifted to the side. I don't have a lot of skills. I pretty much had to beg for this job. In fact, the crowd of people is the only reason I still have a job. I told Matt I would post on social media that I was working here to get people in. At least that worked because I'm fairly certain I do not make good coffee. It's not that bad. Jesse offered her a crooked smile. And if it makes you feel any better, work gets easier the more you do it. He didn't know why, but he felt a little sorry for her. I hope so. I'm not sure I can keep doing this all month. Don't you have any other skills? Didn't you go to college? Brie drug her finger across the tabletop in an imaginary pattern. I didn't go to college. It seemed like too much work. Jesse swallowed a bite of his sandwich. It's never too late, you know. I know, but I'm not even sure what I want to do. Does that make sense? I'm going to do some community service tomorrow. Why don't you join me? It may not help you decide exactly what you want to do, but seeing how those less fortunate live might give you some clarification. Jesse had no idea why the words left his mouth, but it was too late to take them back. Brie stared into his eyes and took a deep breath. He was sure she was going to say no, that community service was beneath her, but after a moment she nodded. Sure, that would be fun. Okay, give me your address and I'll pick you up tomorrow around 10 a.m. She held out her hand. Give me your phone. What? Why? So I can put my number and address in it, of course. Oh, right. He should have known that. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and handed it across the table to her. With a few quick strokes, she input her details and handed it back to him. I'm going to go home and shower, but I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. She pushed back from the table and made her way to the back of the store. Jesse noticed that her walk was different today, tired and not as cocky. Perhaps there was hope for her yet.